Hey everybody, so today is part two of the things that we learned from the recruiting call, the recruiting open office call that was done by crypto recruiters. It was a very informative call or open hours where we all hopped on the Zoom and just asked a whole bunch of questions and they gave us a whole bunch of useful information. If you haven't seen part one, go watch part one. We talked about how recruiters filter out candidates um, when they are looking for people to hire because they have to look through thousands of applicants. So the name of the game is filter down the lowest number we can get to before we look for somebody that actually can fill this role. So that was part one. So go watch that if you haven't seen it. Part two is kind of tied to that too. So there's some other things that they look for when they are looking at your LinkedIn profile. And one of the things that was actually really, really surprising to me was they can see what jobs you applied for in the past. The only thing I couldn't figure out, which I want to look this up before I say it, is I don't know if they can see only just the jobs. And bear with me because I know as soon as I drop this cord, this thing is going to like fall. Okay, there we go. There we go. Now I'm good. Okay, so what I want to look up is, can recruiters on LinkedIn see past jobs you applied for only for that company, or can they see all the previous jobs you apply for? So the reason why this is important is because some of them are checking to see, are you just blindly applying for everything, or are you being strategic with what you're applying for? Are you applying for the roles that are actually connected to what you do, or are you just going for anything and everything? And then they also think about how desperate are you, and why are you that desperate? So okay, cool. So it says recruiters on LinkedIn can only see jobs you applied for within their own company. If you apply through LinkedIn Easy Apply or their company's job portal linked to LinkedIn, they cannot see all the jobs you apply for at other companies. However, LinkedIn does track your job application history for you personally under the jobs tab, but this information is private and not visible to recruiters outside the companies you apply for. Whew. That is a good thing because I'm not gonna lie, full transparency. There was a time where I was like, maybe I should go back to corporate. Maybe I should go get a QA job. Maybe I should go get this type of job. Maybe I should go get that type of job. And I created 3 different resumes. I created one for marketing operations. I created one for quality engineering. And I created one for consulting, like general consulting. And I would use literally any one of those resumes to just apply for anything and everything. And I was just like, digital learner, sure, would I apply for it? I remember it was like titles that I never even thought of doing. And I was like, let me just see what happens. Let me just see what happens. It was a really dark time in my life where I was like, I'm just going to like, whatever, whoever wants me can take me. But it's good to know that recruiters can't see all that history because there was a time where I was just like anything and everything. But do know that if you are applying for multiple jobs within a company, be very, very strategic with what jobs you're applying for because that recruiter can see it. And if you're applying for, I'm gonna just pull out a random title. If you were applying for a cashier one moment, but then you are applying to be a developer the next moment, they're gonna be like, okay, were you just like randomly blind, like doing what I was doing, just applying for any and every type of job? So definitely be careful with that. Let's see. So I put LinkedIn has documented everything that you apply for, which they do. They only have access to that company though. Keywords. So they are looking at keywords. I talked about this in the last video. A lot of it is going to be skilled based. LinkedIn also automatically filters out stuff. So recruiters have preliminary questions that they put out there to say, okay, I need you to have a degree. I need you to have X amount of experience in this, and that. And just off of that alone, you're going to get filtered out based off of one, what's in your profile, two, how you're filling out. So for Easy Apply, there's that little form that pops up sometimes, and it's like, do you have experience with this? How many years of experience do you have with that? Can you work in the US? Like, it's some questions that pop up. Those questions can decide whether or not you're going to get filtered out by the time a recruiter sees those questions. So what you want to do is, if you have the main job that you want to apply for, you need to look at multiple job listings and pick out key words and key trends and key skills and key systems. Because I'll talk about the systems things in a minute. You want to pull out those things and plug them into your profile. Like, especially if you had experience in those particular things, you want to plug it into your profile. This is where it gets a little bit tricky because I have to do this for, I call her Candidate CP. If you're following me on LinkedIn, you will know who that is. If you are on my YouTube, you will not know who that is. But for Candidate CP, they learned a particular system that is similar to what another organization was asking for. I would definitely, if you get past the application part and you come in for an interview, definitely speak to that experience of using that tool, even if it's different from what that company uses, because sometimes the process is the same, the framework is the same, it just has two different names. And all it takes to really learn the other system is just a day of like reviewing and training to learn that new system. So so don't be afraid to put out the systems and the tools that you use for your current jobs or your previous jobs. Put that stuff out there, because even though it may not show up, you could put, and this is the second thing that I'm just thinking of now that you might can do, but I want to confirm before anybody does this. Like, for example, let's say I use, is it Jetpack? Oh my God. Hold on. Let me ask ChatGPT for a second. So I'm thinking developer wise, if you put that you use with Note++ or, oh my God, why is ChatGPT giving me issues? I'm having so many issues. It's like slowing down today. Okay, popular IDEs. That's what I was thinking. Okay, JetBrains. I said Jetpack. I was thinking WordPress. This is what happens when you do way too many things. Jetpack is WordPress. JetBrains is the IDE. So I was thinking JetBrains. Okay, so let's say you use JetBrains for development, and the company that you want to apply for uses Visual Studio Code, which, funny enough, I'm more familiar with Visual Studio Code than I am with JetBrains. And then, why did I say Note++? Sorry, now I'm like curious. My ADHD kicked in and I'm like, okay, what is Note++? Like, sometimes random things just like Notepad. Jesus, Notepad++ is an open source text editor, not a full IDE. But I remember when I first learned code, I had to use Notepad++ because I was like, what am I writing? But if you have experience with JetBrains and the company uses Visual Studio Code, you don't want to discredit the JetBrains stuff. It's literally just the same type of tool. The tricks might be different, like the shortcuts and that type of stuff might be a little bit different, but the general thing is you know how to use an IDE compared to Notepad++. So so you don't want to discredit the tools that you're using. Okay, back to this other stuff. Back to my list. I think the last thing I want to do for part 2 is, we talked about the filtering out. We talked about the preliminary questions that pop up. You want to double check that you actually have experience, because sometimes, well, not even sometimes, what they do is, let's say they want you to have 3 years of experience with GitHub. They want you to have 3 years of experience, and you lie on the questionnaire. You say, yep, I have 3 years of experience with GitHub, but nowhere on your profile do you talk about or bring up GitHub, which, now that I'm thinking about it, Sorry, another thing just like dropped in. We need to normalize our skill, which I'm going to do this right after I get done recording this. We need to put skill in number of years that we had that skill, or software, number of years that we use that software. I think that should be a thing. If it's not a thing, or if somebody else is doing that thing and we just ain't talking about it, we need to talk about it. I think we need to put that on our resumes. I think we need to put that on our LinkedIn profiles. Like, if you have particular, which I don't think it would be wise to put like communication skills, 37 years of communication skills. But if it's something like for example, I taught my ITIL students how to use Jira Service Management. It's a tool, it's a ticketing system that you use to manage and escalate tickets. For that, I would tell my students, put 6 months, put a year, put probably 6 months for them. But I will put Jira Service Management, 6 months of experience, 1 year of experience, 2 years of experience, however many years of experience with that particular tool. I think that should be a thing. I'm gonna test it out and see how it goes. Even though I'm not applying for anything right now, I still want to test it out. But yeah, I'm past my 10-minute mark, so stick around for part 3. I'll either record that today or record that tomorrow. But any questions, contact me at ehi@geekempower.com. If you would like to hire me for any digital literacy workshops or for any programs, ehi@geekempower.com. ehimuema.com is my personal blog. And if you're on my YouTube, subscribe. If you're on my LinkedIn, share this content.